My apologies for this short interruption. We had some technical problems that are solved now. Dear Steve, sorry for this. The stage is yours. Would you please restart? Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Nuno. Yeah, we got a lot of new stuff today. It's not the same old, same old. A lot of new papers that come out on GDF11. So stay tuned here. That's the GDF11 molecule in the upper left-hand corner. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's 45,000 Daltons, making it one of the largest peptides in the human body. It has to be injected. You can't swallow it. Sorry. I'm patient 0. I've been on GDF11 almost 8 years. June 14th, if you want to send me a card for my 8th year anniversary. And my background, as Nuno said, is software development, specialty in database, which is coming very handy because I have about a terabyte database of GDF11 biomarkers, but I'm not an MD. And also GDF11, despite the fact that we all have it in us, unless you're over age 70, is not FDA approved. Okay. So why GDF11? Why did I pick it? You know, I've been into aging my whole life. I was one of the first people in the U.S. to do growth hormone right after the Rudman paper, and I read Amy Wager's paper in 2014 and was very intrigued and had a lab make it for me and started to figure it out. But anyway, there's a lot of proof that aging is most likely under programmatic control by a handful of bloodborne peptides. We know 2 of the most powerful, GDF11 and Klotho. There's probably at least 5 others that we don't know about yet. They are surely under hypothalamic control, but we'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, I always like to show off my rockfish. They are virtually genetically identical. They have a huge variance in lifespan. You can see the calico lives in LA, off the coast of LA, not in LA. Maybe it's the fish tanks. But anyway, he only lives 12 years. He probably has a diet of mercury. And he only lives 12 years. Now the rough eye, who lives in the Pacific Ocean, down deep with plenty of shrimp, no predation, very stable environment, lives 205 years. So, and these are genetically identical. And basically, here's a hard and fast statement, which I will stand by to my last breath. Lifespan is correlated with the stability of the environment, with predation and resources. Okay? And I mean, this is real heresy to say it here, but death is for the greater good of the species. Okay? I'm an evolutionist. I believe in natural selection. Death serves a purpose. I'm sorry. You can't eat your children's food. You got to die and get out of the way and provide resources for the next generation. However, you know, evolution has given us big brains and lots of intelligence, and we've actually, I think we're pretty close to circumventing this programming with GDF11 and a few other peptides. Okay. Further proof that aging is programmed by bloodborne peptides. I do a lot of work with dogs. I run a dog cancer clinic for hemangiosarcoma and lymphoma, so I now know a lot about dogs. Dogs age at warp speed. They age 7 times faster than we do. And, you know, I look at dog biomarkers all day long. You can actually see these dogs age. I mean, you can see their HRV going down, their pulse going up. But here's a fact that few people know. You know, so you probably say, well, humans live 80 years, dogs live 12 years, 15 years if we're lucky. So are humans built better than dogs? No way. Hell no. You know what? Here, it's something you could do next week. Take a dog liver cell and a human liver cell, take them to your expert liver guy at Sloan Kettering or Mount Sinai or whatever, and just label them A and B, put them under electron microscope. They will not be able to tell the difference. So the answer to that question, dogs are not built better than we are. In fact, in many ways, they're built way better than we are, but that's in HRV and cardiac. But this shows that most of the aging in dogs is programmatic. Okay, the root cause of aging is stem cell atrophy. I'm going to say this over and over again. And there's a lot of good papers that prove this. This woman, it's my hero. Sorry I never met her. She lived to be 116. She died in 2005. She left her body to science. And they analyzed her blood. And here's something really shocking. they looked at the lymphocytes, looked at genetic diversity of the lymphocytes. They figured out that there was only she only had 2 hematopoietic cells left. You can believe that. And she actually died of stomach cancer because her immune system was pretty much shot. So we start out life with 20,000 hematopoietic stem cells, and she only had 2 left when she died. So this is what does us in. You can't survive without stem cells, and they're constantly dying off. And thank God we have GDF11. It doesn't replace them, but it repairs stem cell DNA and brings them back into production. There's another really good paper on platelet-rich plasma. Maybe some of you had this in your joints. Competition of there's many things in PRP. Of course, totally objective. I think number one thing is GDF11. But here's the thing. This is a shocking paper. And I was very upset when I read this. When you're young, age 22, you have 169 picograms per milliliter GDF11. When you're 70, you have 0. And I read the paper like 10 times. Is that a typo? You got to be kidding me. So they're right there. Natural selection is signing your death certificate. You have no stem cell repair. You got to get by at age 70 with what you got. And those hematopoietic and mesenchymal stem cells are going to die off, eventually be left with nothing. What's interesting though is IGF-1, which is derivative of growth hormone, is important for cell proliferation. The natural selection cuts us a little bit of a break here. It's 106,000 when you're young, and when you're old, when you're 70, it's 53. So you lose half of it, but you still at least have that. So, but they really shut it off. The GDF11 is, it's obviously game over sooner or later. Quick background on GDF11 supplementation in humans. I'm patient 0. As I said, started injecting in 2014. We have lots of self-experimenters. We also have a cohort that pays us to help them with the biomarkers and analysis. Once again, I'm sounding like a broken record. Most of aging is caused by the atrophy of our stem cell populations. It's not random, and it's programmed by natural selection. GDF11 is endogenous. It inherently makes it safe. It's in all of us, except if you're over 70. And it actually has more mechanisms of actions than stem cell DNA repair. It has Hox gene activation, which controls the size of our organs, and it also targets tumor cells. It's an incredible anti-cancer peptide, and we're going to see that in dogs in a minute. So typically, humans have 10 to 15 years worth of senescent cells. So we see when we give people GDF11, we see 10 to 15 years of age reversal. That's it. Okay. Full disclosure here, it's not going to make you 21. Take it back 10 to 15 years. And that's about it, but it will slow your aging to about 50%. So I'd probably age 50% based on my bar, where I said I'm 64. I've aged half as fast as I would have if I were doing nothing. GDF11 is knocking out of the park. Biomarkers are substantial cardiac, neural, muscle, and skin improvements. Okay, GDF11 is titrated to key biomarkers. The dosing is all over the map. It's tied to age, weight, exercise, and basically it's much, much harder to dose than thyroid or insulin. And so basically how we dose it is we look at the trending of the big 4 biomarkers: blood pressure, pulse, HRV, and reaction time. If the dose is correct, blood pressure goes down, reaction time goes down, pulse goes down, HRV should go up. Trending goes the wrong direction, we take a week's break and we start at half the dose. So dosing without trending biomarkers, you just dose it willy-nilly, you're going to run into trouble. GDF11 is just like insulin and thyroid. It has very bad side effects. The worst side effect of GDF11 is arrhythmia. If you take an HRV, you can see arrhythmia a mile away, or at least I can, and cut the dose. But people that dose it willy-nilly often run into trouble, so please be careful. Okay. Anyway, half of the big biomarkers, big four biomarkers, is done with an MFIT sleep monitor. This goes under your bed. It's really cool. It's a lot more, the Aura, Whoops, those are toys. This is research grade stuff. All big pharma companies use it to test their drugs. It measures 96 data points of HRV, which is really important. We really need HRV, percent deep sleep, average pulse, breathing. It's an amazing device. I wish I owned stock in the company. When you hear me talk about it, it sounds like I do own stock in the company. But anyway, it's my favorite biomarker device, in case you can't tell. There we go. And a little bit of editorializing, since I got the floor for 20 minutes. I just think we all should be biomarker activists. Every anti-aging we should have an agreement that every aging regimen, no matter what you're doing, should at least report blood pressure, pulse, HRV reaction time over a year or two. They're inexpensive. There's no excuse not to take them. Blood pressure meter costs $50. The MFIT costs $200. Reaction time you could do on a machine. Of course, I take about 300 biomarkers. I'd love if everyone took UCLA Immune and CRP and all the other good stuff, but those cost money. This costs like next to nothing. There's no reason, if you're doing rapamycin, you can't put an MFIT under your bed and take your blood pressure today, put it in a spreadsheet and see how things are trending. If they aren't moving, if it's not moving the needle, then it's time to move on. Just out of the database, which is over a terabyte now, average reaction time for our GDF11 cohort is down 12.5%. We're very proud of this. There is no other way on the planet to reduce reaction time. It's one of those sad biomarkers that gets worse and worse with age. The DMV ought to test you for reaction time, not eyesight. Anyway, the mechanism of action is increased vascularization, endothelial repair, increased blood flow to the brain. As I said, I challenge anybody here to come up with anything we have right now that can reduce reaction time. Average heart rate variability up 21%. This is a tough biomarker to improve on your own. You could become a marathoner and probably move the needle somewhat, but 22% for not doing much of anything, not changing your lifestyle is very impressive. And it's totally correlated with fitness and overall longevity. Blood pressure down 5.7%. Don't need to explain that. Augmentation pressure, that's the reflected wave of the systole, is a measure of arterial elasticity. If you want elastic arteries, that's down 60%, pulse down. Skin elasticity up 17%. Okay, GF11 increases telomere length. Almost everyone in our cohort sees telomere length go up 20% or more. Now, GF11 is not a telomerase activator, obviously, but the mechanism of action here is increasing the number of active hematopoietic cells. You have more hematopoietic cells, they produce pristine, long telomere progeny. What's the first two levels? Myeloid, lymphoid, I think. Anyway, they go down like 5 levels. But if you get more production at the top of pristine cells, progeny, you're going to have more in the pool of lymphocytes. You're going to have more along telomere lymphocytes, and that's going to show in your tests. Shortening telomeres are like wrinkling skin. They're an effect of aging. They are not the cause of aging. And I will stand by this. Of course, I could say this because I have all this biomarker data that a lot of people haven't seen, but I know this from looking at all the telomere length tests. I mean, how would you explain it? So anyway, enough on that. 7 minutes. Oh boy, pick it up. CIMT test. This is basically people who have plaque. A lot of them come to us. We see a 41% reduction in plaque. It's pretty hard to do this on your own. You can do it with a Mediterranean diet. Immune competency. This is very important. We increase the number of CRP, excuse me. CRP, C-reactive protein, measure of inflammation. Average CRP is down 44%. BPH. A lot of people come to us with BPH. They're using catheters and all kinds of rough interventions. GDF11 because it activates the HOX genes, shrinks the prostate, and even me at 64 can sleep through the night. Absolutely, this is really important. Immune competency. If you look at Jack LaLanne, that's what did him in. He did everything right, but he died of pneumonia. Okay, absolute naive T cells decline with age. Too few of these, the old man's friend, like Jack LaLanne, will be paying you a visit. You can see, actually, this is old. I'm patient 0. This is old. Last time I checked, I was up to 90. And these are not just numbers on the screen. This means, like, when you get COVID, all of us GDF11 is called COVID the big nothing because nobody had a hard time with it. I've knocked out for a couple of days, and even those days I was able to walk around. So these are very important to have a good naives, good natural killer, and GDF11 ups these because once again it's improving the hematopoietic populations. We like Clotho. It's very synergistic with GDF11. A lot of GDF11ers do it. Benefits include weight loss, improved cognition, skin elasticity. It's tough to work with, though. Be very careful with it. It works on the FGF21 pathways, increases insulin sensitivity. You take too much, blood sugar can go down to like 40, and you could have tachycardia. And you really, once again, got to use biomarkers to titrate Clotho. Okay, we love dogs. I have a dog cancer clinic. Dogs are very genetically similar to us. Most of the diseases we get, dogs get, cancer, heart, kidney disease. There's a dog aging project, which is surveying 80,000 dogs. We give them rapamycin, 500 dogs. We specialize in hemangiosarcoma. It's a cancer of the lining of the blood vessels. Thank God it doesn't occur in humans very often. And it's basically the tumors grow in the blood vessel, they burst, and the dog dies. It's terrible. And this nice dog here, this Doberman, his name is Dexter. He was terminal, given 3 months to live. Started on 100 picograms of GDF11 3 times a week. Generally, even with chemo, these dogs only live 3 months. More than 2.5 years later, Dexter is cancer-free, healthy, and energetic. He's the oldest living HSA dog in the world. So a lot of vets are very impressed with this. And just for fun, let's see if this works.
Okay, we're recording.
There's a video of him. It's 2.5 years.
Yeah, Dexter!
Yeah, Dexter, all right. Yeah, we've cured about 30 dogs of hemangiosarcoma. And I think a lot of these dogs are going to go on to be the oldest dogs on Earth.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay, here's another dog, 50. You can see he's got his neoplasia scores up there. We use CRP and TK1 to determine the dog as cancer-free. Now, the C-reactive proteins are a very good measure of whether cancer has been eradicated or not, because it's a measure of inflammation. TK1 is secreted by the cancer cells, and he's got a score of 3.5, so he's cured. He's doing great. I have a picture of him running around. There's a real cutie, Bella. She, fourth dog to be cured of hemangiosarcoma. Here are our amphits. Dogs basically have the same biomarkers we do, except for HRV. They're 4 times our HRV. They're incredible athletes, incredible. I mean, we should do the Olympics with dogs. I mean, it blows my mind. He's 248. An Olympic athlete might be in the 60s. I'm in the, now it's coming on, it's getting warmer. I'm in the low 40s. Let's see if I can get up to 50 this year, but I doubt it. But yeah, otherwise you can see a nice low pulse. Very interesting. We also work with cats. This poor guy Roscoe had lymphoma, but you're happy to know he's doing great. And I have his amphits. And you can see when he had lymphoma, the HRV was going down, and all of a sudden the GDF11 kicks in, starts killing tumor cells, and the HRV goes up. So, and with hemangiosarcoma dogs, it's even more dramatic than this. So once again, these biomarkers are really, really key to titrating the GDF11, whether you have a dog with cancer or you're a human. This is just for fun. Can you tell the human versus a canine HRV? In case you can't, this is the dog over here on the left, and all of a sudden, I guess the dog went up and got something to eat. Left the human by herself. And you can see the HRV is down to 20. The pulse goes up. All of a sudden, the dog comes back, and the HRV is picking up the dog again. The infant's picking up the dog, and you can see the HRV is way up. So that, in case you don't believe me, that dogs are unbelievable athletes. They blow us away, the HRV department. There you have it. They have it. One nice little story. Mechanism of action of GDF11 reversing canine cancers. Great paper on the Wikipedia site. GDF11 implications in cancer biology. Basically, it targets tumor cells because they have stemness features, and it basically it impairs their mitochondrial function and basically suffocates them. And I've seen this, and you can look on the site. You can look at these dogs, and you can see their tumors shrinking to nothing. Also, just so you know, the dog dose when they have hemangiosarcoma is 1,000 times the human dose, which strongly suggests that because they have these tumors, they need a lot more. The tumor load is much higher. They need more. The GDF11 binds to the tumors, and that's why the dose is so high. And that's one of the hard parts. Is figuring out when the dog is cured, and you don't want to be dosing them 1,000 times too much, or they'll get arrhythmia or whatever. So you got to really watch. All of a sudden, boom, the HRV is going down. All of a sudden, boom, it starts to come up. You know, the dog's cured, and you start cutting the dose, and they're happy and running around. This dog should. And we don't win all the time. Our cure rate post splenectomy is about 60%. Dogs with HSA, the hemangiosarcoma starts in the spleen, so usually have a splenectomy. We win. The dog comes to us right after the splenectomy. We could deal with the metastases, 2 centimeters or less. Actually, cardiac metastases, we have a great success rate. It sounds really bad when it goes to the heart, but the good news is when it's in the auricular chambers, it can't grow that big. It can't get beyond a centimeter. So we whack that, no problem. Anyway, we lose brain HSA. It's pretty rare, but the GDF11 can't cross the blood-brain barrier. We also lose if the dog has like a big tumor in its abdomen that the sonogram didn't pick up. In summary, aging is a program by natural selection. Stem cell atrophy is our aging program. GDF11 reactivates the HOX genes, which control the shape of our organs. It's very good for BPH, cardiac hypertrophy. It's an incredible anti-tumor mechanism. This has to be why bowhead whales live 250 years don't get cancer. We have high GDF11 levels, good tumor surveillance. By the way, nobody in the cohort and self-experience has ever gotten cancer. And I hate to make statements like that, but there's probably at least 1,000 people. And when something goes wrong with GDF11, believe me, this is the guy they call. And never had that call. For a couple calls about arrhythmia, but never cancer. So fingers crossed. And when we get up to 10,000, 100,000 people, that'll really be meaningful. Anyway, it's based on with canine HSA at GDF11 cancer papers. I think it would work. I would bet my life on it, actually. It would work against human pancreatic, at least early stage, human pancreatic and liver cancers, and lymphoma also. So we're looking to work with a forward-thinking oncologist and try it on humans and cure some people and end some suffering. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. That's all for now. We have a Q&A on the 4 p.m. panel. My website is GDF11 Rejuvenation. And there's if you're really into this and you want to spend a month, this is the best way to spend a month I can think of. You can read all the papers on the GDF11 Wikipedia site. Most of them are pretty good. There's some that aren't, but hey, most are pretty positive, and they show how many systems that GDF11 impacts. It's quite impressive. Okay, well, that's it. Let's see. I don't know what to do now. Stop share.
They are hailed as life